Hey YouTube, Bert Billy here. Well, last year, towards the end of last year, I became Uncle Burp again. And it's been a long time since I've been an uncle. And I want to do something for my new niece. So what I'm going to do is build her a sandbox. Now the sandbox I'm going to build is the same style sandbox that I built in a video probably 3 years back. On that video, when I did it, I basically shot the finished product and talked about how I did it. And a lot of people weren't understanding quite how things went together. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to do a step-by-step here. So this will be a step-by-step video. I may break it up into a couple of videos, but it's going to be step-by-step how to build this. So the thought process here is what we're going to do is we're going to take 2x4s, we're going to cut them in half, and we're going to get 8-foot 2x4s, cut them down so they're about 4 foot in length, and then we're going to stagger them together so that it's a strong outside wall built out of 2x4s that are stacked on top of each other. And then that's basically going to be the box. And then we'll take some 2x4s and build 1 or 2 seats. And then we're going to build a cover for it too to keep animals out and keep the weather out. A couple things that I learned on the last one. I built the last one, I want to say it was like 4x6. Too big, at least for what I was doing. That was a ton of sand, literally. It was great for the kids, but it was just a bit much for our situation, especially when I built it and did it at that house. We knew we were probably going to be moving within a year anyway, so I wasn't thinking ahead. All right, so let's just get started on this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some boards down to form the sides. In my head, I'm thinking I'm going to do this a 4x4. So I'm going to see how that looks on a layout, and then if I decide to trim back in, I'll trim it back in. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself 4 4x4 boards so I can kind of lay them together, see how they look. If I like it, if I don't like it, I may turn this into a 3x4, but let's see how it looks. All right, so there we have, that's roughly a 4x4. To me, that looks like a decent sized sandbox for a kid, especially a little one. All right, so the walls are going to be built out of 3 boards. And the 3 boards are going to stack on top of each other like that. I want to cut 2 of my boards down by 3 inches. That accounts for 1.5 inches on each side. And the reason why is because a 2x4 is 1.5 inches thick. Alright, so here I have a 45-inch board. Here I have a 48. So it'll stack like this. 48, 45, and a 48 on top. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut everything up that I need, and then I'll show you how we're going to build the walls. All right, so here we are. I've got 6 48-inch cuts and 6 45-inch cuts. Now we need to build the walls. If you're keeping track, that's 6 2x4s produced all of this. I've got 6 and 6 is 12, and each of them is roughly half of a 2x4. We're 6 2x4s in to build the walls, plus your screws. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the long ones, which is a 48-inch. We're going to measure 1.5 inches in on either side and put a hash mark. Doesn't have to be exact, just close. To help me out, I'm going to take a speed square and just complete the mark. Helps with the visuals when you're putting it together. Then we're going to take a 45 and stick it in between those 2 hash marks. This is a sandbox, so if you're a little off, it's not the end of the world. One thing you could do, you can lay it flat so that you know the 2 boards are side by side, line them up, and then drill it on the side. I'm pretty confident I can get this thing mostly stacked up right, so I'm going to do it this way, especially I think it helps you guys see what I'm doing. So we're lined up on this side, we're lined up on this side, we're pretty even up and down this way. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to drill down a little way, we're going to just counter drill down. And you could take a magic marker and put a little line on, you know, like 1.5 inches, 2 inches down. I'm going to eyeball it because I kind of know where that is on the drill. You know, I've been doing this stuff for years, and I'm not trying to be cocky. It's just you start doing stuff long enough and you just start to know things. The screws that we're going to use are going to be 3-inch screws. I'm using galvanized just because they're a little bit stronger, in my opinion, than the average, like a drywall screw. If you tried to get a 3-inch drywall screw, they're going to be probably right near each other on that screw aisle. You really want to get galvanized. If you're going to do this, probably buy like a 1-pound box of 3-inch galvanized should do you for the whole project. I think that's probably going to run you $8 to $10, something like that. All right, so let's do the clearance holes. Now I've got an extension bit on here with number 2 Phillips. Hook it in. You can see right there we got a good 1.5 inches or so of grab on the bottom of this. Do the same thing on this one. Just so you feel it bite. I'm using an impact driver here. As you can see, I'm right about there, so we're getting a good, you can see how far I'm driving in. Put the 3-inch screw on it, and you can see how much we're grabbing. We're getting a good 2 inches or so on that. All right, so that's the first one. Now what we need to do is now we need to lay one more on top of 48. I'll do a quick measurement. This one I'm going to do on the side so I can see it. I don't know if you guys can see that, but what I did is I described a line there. The reason why I did that is so when I go like this, I can just line that edge up with the other edge there. I've got this, my line is now lined up with this, lined up with that. I'm just going to kind of tuck this in a little straight. You're dealing with cheap lumber. This is 2x4s. Nothing's going to be perfect. We're not trying to get perfection. I know last one I came in intentionally a little bit, so I'm going to come farther to the outside on this one. This is one of those projects. Have fun with it. It's quick, it's simple, it's dirty, but when you're done, it's going to be kind of cool to look outside and see your kid playing in something that you built. So something you can do so that you don't hit those screws below is if you just do a quick mark on the board. Oh no, I'm not drilling where the other screw holes are. What I did here is just mark 2 lines again. Now we're doing the opposite. So this guy here is going to sit on top of this like this. Line my 2 marks up, make sure I'm even. And again, I'm trying to fly through this for the video. If you've got clamps, you want to clamp stuff together, whatever makes your job easier, whatever makes your life easier or safer, don't ever forget the safety side of it. But whatever makes it easier or safer for you, do it. If you find a better way, have at it. If you see a tip or something, you're like, you know what, I think he missed this, post a comment for me. I always appreciate that kind of stuff. If someone tells me something or shows me something, and it's something I missed or something I didn't know about, hey, I just learned something today. So that's awesome. So if you're looking at this, you're like, oh, you know what, if I did it this way, I think it's faster, put a comment down below the video. I'd love to see that. Alright, so here we are. I just set it together. It actually slid together real nice. Just set all the pieces up so you can see what it looks like. That's how we do it. When you put it together, make sure all your holes, counter drill holes that you did to get your screws in, make sure all those are facing either up or down so that they're all the same around so you can put those down when you're done. What I want to do now is I'm going to screw it together, tighten it up. We may get some seats on tonight. I'm starting to run out of daylight. The freaking trains are starting to run. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. I'm sure you can. There they go. It's going to get a little loud here. But what I want to do for tonight, I kind of got sidetracked. Some people stopped by. I just want to get this thing screwed together. We're going to do pilot holes, and then we'll attach it using the same 3-inch screws. So what we'll do is we're going to do 2. So we'll do 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. And we're going to do that all the way around, so that all the pieces are connected by 2 screws, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pilot drill them. The reason why we're doing that is this is kiln dried wood. Some of it's more moist than other, but there's a good chance, and it's also pine, you're gonna split it. So we want to pilot drill to stop the splitting. And actually, I'm going to show you a trick that I do with a Phillips head to kind of countersink it a little bit to also help stop splitting when you're doing screwing near an edge. Right, so we'll do this corner here first. We're going to make sure it's nice and tight. When you're assembling this, if for some reason these don't go together, don't worry about it. Just take the one side, which would be the side that has the 2 prongs, this side here, and just unscrew the other one board just a little bit. That'll open it up, allow you to put it back in, and close it back up by screwing it again. So it's no big deal if one of them is a little tight, or just do a little sanding on it, and it'll wedge in. So we're going to go ahead and screw this one now. That pilot drill is about the size of the shank, not where the thread is, but where the shank of the screw is, the thickness of the screw. It's about that thickness there. Then, this is the trick. Take your Phillips head and just kind of do this. What you're doing is you create a little surface for the head to set in, and it helps with it splitting. It's like magic. We're gonna do this bottom one next. Alright, so that corner screwed, you guys got to see how that was. I'm probably going to fast forward that in the tape, so you probably saw that go, and we're back to here now. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the other corners, and then we'll make up a seat. Alright, so here we have it. I've got all 4 walls up. Everything's drilled together. You know, there's a couple things that might be an 1/8 inch or so out of whack. Who cares? It's a sandbox. Like I said, when you're doing projects like this, have fun with them. If you see something you want to modify, have at it. This is easily modifiable, and by that I mean we're running a 4x4. You could run a 3x whatever. You could run, you know, whatever you want to do with these. You can run these out as far as you can get lumber for them, and then beyond if you put supports in it. So something like this, I think the last one I built, like I said, was either a 4x6 or a 5x6. It was a 4x6. You can build something like this. You could build an 8-foot one if you wanted. You know, it just depends on what you want to do. If you've got a different idea for a cover, you can do that too. Just use a tarp, throw a tarp over it, and be done. For the seats, I'm just going to create a little 2x4 seat across the corner here, and then we're going to actually build the cover to accommodate that. That's going to be in another video because I'm losing daylight today. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.